Well, we are back to debunking more flat earth nonsense, and it's the same guy as last time. Benjamin Owen, I think is his name. So this guy apparently was a comedian, and then he just turned to, I don't know what happened to him. Well, he just he just turned into a flat earther kind of spontaneously. I actually have a video where you can see him gradually start to accept that the earth is flat. That's not the video that we're going to watch today. So what you're going to see in today's video is his complete inability to comprehend how motion actually works. So without further ado, let's get started.
This is the absolute proof. And you never have to say another thing about it. And people get so mad. I get it. You're going through grief. You're mourning grief. Ready? What people forget is that it's not a circle around the sun. Even if it was a circle, it'd still be impossible. But it's an ellipse, which means that it changes speed. And unlike the evolution lie, where you can just keep adding billions of years, but the billions and billions of years, but it's 1 year. That's a fixed amount of time and a fixed amount of speed. The length of Earth's trajectory.
So these are our beginning claims. Earth changes speed, bro. It's 1 year, bro. So he didn't say that many things there that were actually false. So good for him. But that's where we're starting. His problem is the way the Earth goes around the sun. That's where it all begins. All right, we'll keep going.
Trajectories around the sun is 940 million kilometers. Thus, the Earth travels about 107,000 kilometers per hour. This means that our planet moves around the sun at an average speed of 30 kilometers per second, or Mach 88. 88 times the speed of sound. So let that sink in. Earth speed,
So this is a common thing that I actually see with flat earthers. They literally just give the scientific facts. The sun is 100 million miles away from us. We're moving at 36,000 miles per hour, or Mach 88, or as we go around the sun. They are scared of large numbers. I've crashed flat Earth live streams where they're just sitting there telling us what science says. The number, well, I don't know why I said science in quotes. Well, that's what they would do, right? They call it science, but it's just science. And they throw out the numbers and they say it doesn't make any sense, but that's because they can barely count to 10. That's where a lot of this comes from.
This is the kicker. Earth speed is not constant as the Earth orbits elliptical orbit. Let that sink in. If you're going 66,000 miles an hour and you change 1% of your speed, and in this model it's significantly more than 1%, well, you wouldn't even feel it. No, just listen. It's a fixed amount of time. It's 1 year. If you change 1%, that's 660 miles an hour. That would liquefy all flesh. If you change 1 mile an hour, I challenge you to walk on a treadmill at 1 mile an hour and tell a friend to randomly unplug it. You will trip and you will fall down. I challenge you to hold a coffee that's full to the brim as you drive down the street at 60 miles an hour. Just tap on the brake to go 59. The coffee will spill. When you're going 88 times the speed of sound and you have to change speeds, you would feel it. Now, even...
Okay, so there's a lot going on there, but we'll have to unpack it. So, he's making this absolute claim that it's impossible to change speed and not notice it. So he says, if you change by 1 mile per hour, you would feel it. Except he's completely discounting, but we're going to see that he does go into this later. He's completely discounting the idea of the rate at which you change speed. If you speed up or slow down by 1 mile per hour over the course of a day, how many of you think you're going to feel that? You're not going to feel that. We'll get into that later. So you can't change speed because you'd feel it. And then notice how he says in there, like, he says, even if you change your speed by 1%, and then the example he gave was if you go from 1 mile per hour to 0, that is a change of speed of 100%. That is a total loss of 100% of your speed. That is not a change of 1%. And then also says tap your brakes when you're going 60 down to 59. That is also not a change of 1%. That's a change of more than 1%. But again, yes, I agree. If you change your speed by 1 mile per hour instantly, you can feel it. But what if you changed your speed by 1 mile per hour over the course of 1 minute? Would you feel that? No. All right. It continues, unfortunately.
Now, even if the psychotic people going through the stages of mourning want to say, oh, no, but you go 1 mile an hour to 0.97 miles an hour, you would be able to measure it. Can't have it both ways, guys. Not only would you can do the math on it because the ellipse is fixed and the time is fixed. 1 year. And you can check out the math of the ellipse. There's a change of speed every year. At minimum, twice a year, at minimum. The way an ellipse works, zoom, zoom, zoom. Okay, you can break that down into any fraction you want. It's still one fixed year. Not only would you feel it, it would kill you, but forget all that. You could measure it. You could measure it. And if you don't think you could measure a change in speed, you're lying.
So I love how he says things like, you could break that down into whatever fraction you want. Like, he's just saying words that don't mean anything. It's really fun. He does that a lot. He just throws around this weird jargon that doesn't actually mean or say anything. And he says in there, you can do the math. You can look at the numbers or whatever. At no point in this video does he do any actual math. What I'm about to do is show you the math here. And if he would have done the math, he would have seen how this actually does make perfect sense. But he claims, do the math. It's like, we've all heard this before. Do your own research. These are people that don't do research. These are people that hear people say things, or they see Facebook reposts, or they Google something and find a source that they like, which I guess is researching in a way. I love how he framed people trying to correct him with facts as psychotic people going through the stages of mourning or grief. That was pretty funny. So, yeah, he says in there like, oh, even if the psychotic people tell you it's a change of 1 mile per hour or if you change your speed by 0.00001, yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. You would not notice that, and he just hand waved it away. So, anyways, as I was saying, yes, you can do the math. And when you do the math, it's extremely clear. So he's actually right. Again, he said some things that were correct. That Earth goes around the sun in an ellipse. And an ellipse is just basically a stretched circle. And there's an aphelion and perihelion. I can't remember which is which, but one is when Earth is closest to the sun. One is when Earth is farthest away from the sun. And yeah, because our distance from the sun changes, our orbital speed around it changes, and it gets faster. Now, Earth, although it has an elliptical orbit, it's very, very, very close to circular. I don't remember what the eccentricity of Earth's orbit is, but it's a very, very, very small number. The closer it is to 0, the more circular it is. But anyways, as you can see here, the difference between when Earth is going at its absolute fastest and when it's going at its slowest, and again, these are 6 months apart from each other. It's not instantaneous. It takes 6 months to either gain or lose this speed. That's what it is. So the difference in velocity as Earth goes around the sun is 1 kilometer per second. Now, 1 is a small number, but a kilometer in 1 second is a huge distance. So we'll rework that into kilometers per hour, which is 3,600 kilometers per hour, times 60 times 60, right? Well, we can calculate the acceleration of this. Acceleration is the rate of change, which I don't think he understands that, but that's what he's talking about. You would feel it. Acceleration is what you can feel. Like, for example, I'm just sitting in this chair. My velocity is constant. It's 0. Now, I take it some of you probably sleep in the car sometimes, hopefully when you're not when you're driving. But why can you sleep in a car? Why is it easy to do? Well, because if you're going down the highway with cruise control, you also have a constant velocity. It may be 70 or whatever, but it's still constant. Moving at a constant speed feels no different than not moving, right? I forgot why I brought that up. But anyways, acceleration is the change of velocity there. That's why I brought it. So this is how many hours are in 6 months. So this is the total speed that is, or total velocity that is gained. This is how long it takes to gain that velocity, which means this is our acceleration. Every single second, you either gain or lose 0.00006325 meters per second. Now ask yourself, would you feel that? Now that's incredibly slow, but weirdly, because it's exponential, it does kind of stack up kind of quickly. So if you were to accelerate at this speed, here's what you would get. You could complete basically almost exactly one lap around a track, like at a high school, in 1 hour. I think it's actually like 409 meters, but close enough. But imagine spending an hour doing one lap around a track at a high school. That's incredibly slow. Now, after 2 hours, because your speed keeps stacking, you would be able to go 1 mile in 2 hours. And in a day, you'd go 147 miles, which still, that works out. Your average speed there would work out to what, 2550, 7500, 25. Your average speed would work out to 7 kilometers per hour, I believe, which is not fast. It's noticeable. But even after this 24 hours, I can imagine what the Flerfer rebuttal would be. 147 miles in 24 hours, that's significant. That's not what we're talking about. Okay, we're talking about this thing at the bottom. At no point in your journey, no matter how fast you're going, no matter how slow you're going, you would not feel it if your speed suddenly became constant, or if your speed suddenly increased or decreased by this much in 1 second. That is imperceptible. 0.00006325 meters per second squared. That is, if we change this to millimeters, it would still be less than, it'd still be about half of a tenth of a millimeter. That's probably pretty close to a human hair, right? So we're talking about, this is very, very slow. And this is the thing, if he would have actually done the math, he would have understood that his talking point about you would feel it is completely broke.
Look at a swimming pool. Look at any water. If you just go like this, ripple, ripple, ripple. My ladle's overflowing. Yeah, it's over. Guys, this heliocentric model is over. The Earth changes speed going around the sun at Mach 88. And that's why they sent in Einstein to say, it's all relative. No, it isn't. If you're going 66,000 miles per hour and there is any change whatsoever in speed, you would feel it. Forget it.
So, yeah, Einstein to the rescue, right? Yeah, I agree. If you slap a pool of water, you'll see the ripples. But what if you push the water what if you hit the water with something going 0.00006325 meters per second? Is that going to cause anything noticeable? No, because instead of, imagine throwing a rock into a pool, it creates waves. But what if the rock falls into the pool at 0.00006325 meters per second squared? You're just lowering the rock at a speed so slow that it just melts itself. That's a terrible term, but it just becomes consumed by the water, and there would be nothing noticeable happening there. And again, the absolute claim that any change whatsoever would be noticeable. No, that's totally false. You can't notice a change that low. So I'm repeating myself, so we'll just keep going.
About 1,000 mile an hour spin, how you couldn't operate a plane, or you couldn't forget. Just this is it. You need no more explanation. If you're going not 66,000, 1 mile per hour, and it goes to 0, from 1, you would trip.
I don't know what you can't operate a plane at 1,000 miles per hour means. I think he means if the Earth is actually spinning at the equator at 1,000 miles per hour, could you take off in a plane the other direction or the same direction? But again, I just can't believe how dumb he is. Yeah, if you go from 1 mile per hour to 0 miles per hour, you would notice that. But that's completely different than what's happening here. And I don't know why he thinks that even intuitively makes sense. Before I did the math on this, I knew that this didn't intuitively even make any sense. And that's just not present in this guy. The light's on, but nobody's home.
And listen, I'm not here to... I've heard the arguments. I hear the arguments all the time. I could read you hundreds of them, of cognitive dissonance, of people being like, one of the biggest things you'll hear is anger. They're going through the stages of grief. I don't know if you realize that. That's what it is. I deal with this all the time. It's one reason why my band hammer is so intense. It's grief. They'll get mad at me. They'll say, you, sir, how dare you? I mean, it's so easy to understand. Even an idiot could. LOL. I mean, inertia and vortex. Man, that's grief. And then they'll bargain. Well, it could be that. It just keep, and then depression. Well, what do we do now? I mean, my whole childhood. Just stop. It's not that big a deal. It's more beautiful that it isn't spinning endlessly around the sun. It's way better.
I've never seen that tactic before. When somebody produces you like math or scientific data or logical arguments, just tell them that they're going through the stages of grief. No, it's actually a slow rate of change. You're bargaining. You're bargaining at this point. That's amazing. Somebody in the comment section said this and I forgot to say it. Yes, once again, he's equating going from 1 mile per hour to 0 miles per hour with a change of 1%. Because in his scooped out Flerf mind, he thinks that the number 1 just means only one thing. 1% is the same as 1 mile per hour to 0 miles per hour. No, a change of 1% would be 0.01 miles per hour. So I don't know who said that, but thank you very much for pointing that out. Yeah, this is, as far as debate tactics, I don't even know what to call this. I guess it's a straw man, saying that when somebody presents you with like, oh yeah, your boy, that's a good comment too. It's projecting and gaslighting. I get it. But they don't know that they're doing it, is the thing. That's the even more pathetic thing. It would be a debate tactic if they were doing it strategically. Because for it to be a tactic, you have to know what you're doing, right? But they're doing it unironically, right? Which is oh, that's the saddest part of it. That's so funny. I don't remember what I was going to say, but we only got one short clip left, which is fortunate or unfortunate.
It's just like, and this is one of those torpedoes that you can't get around. And there's people that spend their whole day, I think, just trying to troll me and just being like, you sir. It's like, how dare you? That's 1% of speed change, which is, it's way more than that. In the given ellipse, in the given year, you can't change the numbers. The calendar year is set. The rotation is set. So you can't do what they do in evolution. Say, well, in 20 billion years, a hurricane can just create a Ferrari. No, you can't just keep adding years. 1 year, one ellipse, change in speed. How do you not measure it? How do you not feel it? How do things not fall over? We're talking about Mach 88. 1% change would liquefy all flesh. There's more than 1% change in speed in the given ellipse, in the given year, in a given moment.
I can't believe how good he is at saying things that aren't relevant at all. Almost everything he said there. The numbers are set. The year is set. The ellipse is set. What does that have to do with anything? You can't change the numbers. I don't need to change the numbers. We did the math, and your whole talking point is just nullified. It's stupid. You can't add years. Why would I need to add years? And then, yeah, he did this about 5 different times, but he said a change of 1% would liquefy everything. So, yeah, if you're going Mach 88, 1% of that is close to Mach 1. So if you change your speed by Mach 1 instantly, then the G-force you would feel from that, yeah, it would be, I don't know what it would be. I'm pretty sure it would be at least hundreds of thousands of Gs. Yeah, that would kill you. That might liquefy you. But it takes, funny enough, in this example, we're actually losing more than 1% of our speed. We're actually losing close to 3%. It's actually a little more than 3% of our speed. So it's worse than what he thinks. But we're spending 6 months doing that, and we already did the math. I'm not going to go over it again. It's so stupid. So this talking point of Earth changes speed, bro, is dumb. It doesn't mean anything, and we've proved once again that Flerfers, of all the things they can't comprehend, which is everything, the specific example today was motion.